Hello, thank you for joining Mo, Year Magical Learning. We are on a different kick
Yeah,
this time around. So we're not talking about business like we did the past few days. We are going to be on a two-part series of a book that Chris and I both like. So I'll let Chris introduce the book and his reflection.
yeah. This is a fun book. I mean, this is actually one of my. I feel like I reference this book a lot. Just whether I directly reference it or indirectly reference it, I feel like I reference this book a lot. And ironically, do you remember where this book came from?
No, I don't recall.
The Anti-Book Club. I forget the girl's name that was on there, but she was. This is one of the books that she went through
Oh, okay.
on the Anti-Book Club that sounded really cool, and she was right. It was really good. But the book is called "The Molecule of More: How a
Hmm.
Single Chemical in Your Brain Drives Love, Sex, and Creativity, and Will Determine the Fate of the Human Race." Sounds pretty intense. So this book's
It is.
about dopamine, about why we do what we do and how dopamine works, its goals, why dopamine exists, how it affects our brain, how it affects, what our actions are. It really just is like a deep dive into dopamine in general, the molecule of more. It was a very fascinating book, one that I wrote a multi-part reflection on because I often do that now, as you'll start to see this going forward whenever I come across a book that just really makes me think and really resonates with me in general. I really started to open it up toward the back half of this Your Magical Learning Journey, which we're officially on almost in the next couple books. But yeah, so it was a really good book. I would highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it a lot. I don't know where I would rank it on the ranking lists in terms of, I don't know, it's top 20, is it top 30? I don't know. So, but it was either way, it was a really good book that I really enjoyed. So the reflection for today is who's at the wheel, you or dopamine?
Hmm.
So I started this reflection off just by talking about how much I really love this book. And ironically, one of my core values and one of Clubbedy's core values as well is learn something new every single day. And there's just no better feeling than when you come across a book that you learn so much from. It's like honestly, when learn something new every day is one of your core values of yourself or club, there's just nothing better than being able to absorb all this new knowledge and just enjoy the hell out of it. So it's like you're in learning heaven, like in kind of books like this, and makes you want to write multiple reflections about it,
Hmm.
which is ironic because this is a book about dopamine. So this is that reading a book about dopamine gave me a pretty big dopamine hit because I was able to leverage my learn something new every day values, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, it started a multi-part reflection. So here's the thing about dopamine the first reflection I want to write about is we got to start with like, what is dopamine first, just to give a quick understanding of it. So per the book, dopamine is the spark that unites human superpowers, meaning it's the chemical in our brain that unlocks like creativity, imagination, allows you to dream about what's possible in the future. And it also allows you to have motivational control in the present to make that dream a reality. So it helps you to think about the future and it also helps you to build that future in the present, right? So the example I gave in this particular reflection is let's think about, you have a dream of being an Olympic gold medal winner in the 100-meter freestyle. So the goal of being a gold medal winner in the future in the Olympics is dopamine at work. But then every single day of putting that work and time in the gym and putting those hours in the pool and training and working really hard and focusing all of your attention toward that same goal is also dopamine at work. That's what they call control dopamine in the book. And then the other one was what they call desire dopamine. So desire dopamine for the future goal, and then control dopamine to help you to exercise and to keep working toward that goal. So now that we have that kind of clear as to like what dopamine is, the inherent problem with the scenario of the swimmer, in my opinion, is, when you let dopamine, like sometimes you just end up doing stuff that you don't like, we call it beavering on accident. But sometimes, you find yourself beavering on accident, like meaning you just started swimming one day and you're like, man, this is really fun. I really like this, and then you keep swimming and you're like, what would be something I could do with swimming, and then you find yourself going, I'm going to go for the gold medal, when you're like 5 years old or whatever. And then like the whole entire life, you get there one day and then all of a sudden you get your medal and you're like, what the hell's next, and that's where the problem with the inherent problem with dopamine is it doesn't have any goals. Like dopamine just exists, right? Like, and dopamine like will take you to wherever you want to go. But the problem with dopamine is it also doesn't have direction, right? You give it direction or you don't give it direction. And then once it's over and once that activity is over and you can no longer have your dream, your desired dopamine and to leverage to use your control dopamine in the present, you're kind of fucked. I mean, like, that's when like depression happens. That's when like people lose all kinds of, you see this with sports stars all the time, like Michael Phelps, like Olympic athletes or people going to the moon or whatever, like they have all that dopamine to drive them to the literal moon, and then they come back home and it all just crashes because they're like, I don't have any focus at all. about where my life should go now. I've spent all this time and energy. And by the time they get to the end outcome, they realize this kind of sucks. It actually reminds me of Andre Agassi in the book that we read about Open, right? Like he spent his whole life like with his control dopamine, playing tennis every single day. He said, you know what? This will all be good when I get to be number one in the world and I win my first major. He did that in the French Open. He was walking around the streets of Paris after he won that, and he was like, this is it. This sucks. Like, this is all that I get for this. Like all that work, all that dopamine desire guiding me toward this goal. This blows. That was actually the start of Andre Agassi's downward spiral toward, 5-7 years later, he found himself doing crystal meth in his home with the guy that like was like his live-in assistant or whatever. And, his career was spiraled out of control, and he was like ranked like number 350 in the world, and he's divorced, and, his whole life just fell apart. Right. Like, so that's the problem with dopamine, right? Is it'll take you to wherever you want it to go, but it'll drive the bus, right? So here's the second half of the reflection that this made me think about. So this is where values come into play, in my opinion. So when you bring values in to the rescue, here's where it changes things. You leverage what you do every single day with values at the wheel and with yourself at the wheel to help harness dopamine to get you to where you want to go versus dopamine taking you to where dopamine wants you to go, right? Because dopamine doesn't have a goal of where it wants to go. Dopamine just goes, right? Like it either helps you to get it in the present, helps you get to in the future. But with values, you can start to shift that focus around. And what I was giving you the example of learning something new every single day at the beginning of this is the perfect example of it, right? Like I get a little dopamine hit every single day. That's one of my values, is learning something new every single day. I get a little dopamine hit every single day with my control dopamine because I read a book or I listen to an audio book or something, and I try to find a way to learn something new. I actually don't really get that little dopamine hit when I read a fiction book, which is oftentimes why I hate reading fiction books, because I'm like, God, I didn't really learn anything today. Like I'm just listening to a story at that point in time, which stories are fun, but like I love learning something new every single day. Like that's what makes me want to go, right? Well, here's the second part of, that helps you with the control dopamine. But then at the same time, its values are so abstract. If somebody took away my books, I could go find another way to learn something new every single day and get that dopamine hit. But at the same time, you think about the desire dopamine aspect of it all into the future. Like I'm also progressing toward this never-ending goal in the future as well, where I look back and we've read 365 books and you're like, holy shit, like, that's crazy. But I don't really care. The Year of Magical Learning is kind of like the future desire dopamine, but like I don't really give a shit, because once we get done with this project, all I'm going to do is reset, and we're going to go find another project that I can continue to leverage my values every single day of learning something new, and who knows what that'll manifest in the future, right? So I'm not really worried about this. It's not the same scenario as like the Olympic gold medal where I just drop off a cliff. The moral of the story of what I'm getting at is the reason why values are so impactful for me and so impactful for what we're trying to do within the club and the ecosystem is it helps you to corral dopamine to be working for you and just working in general, right? Like, and when you can control dopamine, then you can start to really, really unlock the full potential of what it can do for you to unlock that creativity and imagination and all these things. And it can help you to live the life that you want to live, be more fulfilled, have more meaningful work and meaningful relationships at the end of the day, and always be able to make that sustainable going forward in the future versus being these up and down choppy things where the dopamine's at the wheel, right? So that's the reflection at the end of the day. The question that I had at the bottom here is, are you guiding your dopamine, or is your dopamine guiding you? Love to get your thoughts.
The question is, I mean, based on your reflection, you are, kind of suggesting that you should be controlling your dopamine and
Yeah.
the dopamine controls you.
Right.
So for me, I think it goes back to the same principle with the Beaver Dam, right? Because you're looking at when you are getting this quote quote dopamine hit. Now, what does that mean? I mean, it just means that, hey, when you get that dose of dopamine that's released from your brain, right? It gives you a sense of positive euphoria, however you want to describe that feeling. That's a feeling that
Feels good.
Right? It's a feel good. It's a feel good molecule. Okay.
Right.
And so we have that, and the thing is, there are triggers external to us that will trigger that particular cascade of events that allow us to imagine our future, imagine being this, imagine being that, give us that release. When we do that, imagination give us a release. But the example you give in terms of like Andre Agassi, Michael Phelps, and Buzz Aldrin, and all these people, once they get to the point where they achieve what they had thought that's what they really wanted.
Right.
To me, it seems like it's the sustainable concept that we keep talking about. Is it sustainable? Right? Meaning that
It's not.
when you get to a certain point, is it sustainable? If you're talking about you and I learning something forever, right? Is that sustainable? The question is whether something is sustainable, because you get to the point where we say, hey, I'm at this level. I imagine myself going to this level, right? When I get there, is there another level? Is there another level? The point is, a lot of time when people get to the point where I'm here, I have these differences from where I'm at to where I want to be. When I'm getting a progression towards that, the dopamine will get released. But
Mhm.
whenever I hit it, I mean, it stopped moving.
Yep.
It
It's
stopped
done.
moving. That means that
It's
it's
gone.
not releasing anymore. There's no differences. Therefore, you feel like, hey, I got there. But then, without any additional levels, you feel devastated. I mean, you're not feeling, hey, there's more for me to get. So it's all about, is there sustainability in terms of once I get there, what's next? When I get there, what's next? You think about breathing, for example. I breathe. I want to breathe more. I want to continue to keep breathing. Same thing with you playing tennis, right? When you go to the point where whatever you do as your core value, it is sustainable and it is insatiable.
Right.
Meaning that whenever you get to that point, there's another level, another level, and it gets to the point where it's sustainable. But if you don't have core values, meaning that your core values and doing whatever that is you're achieving is not sustainable. I mean that when you get there, you have no idea what you're going to do next,
Right.
right?
Right.
Meaning that whenever you get there, the anticipation of the dopamine stops, and that creates this void.
It's awful.
Like
Yeah. It's
it's a
awful.
void. It's like a
Right.
withdrawal. It's a
Right. Yeah.
withdrawal
Yeah.
from
It is.
this feel good molecule, and
Right.
that creates this like depression, right? People get depressed whenever you're talking about Michael Phelps, talking about
Yeah.
he get depressed, and then he goes, "Hey, look, my life, it's empty. I got to go try meth because I need something to feel alive." So
Right.
you think about in Andre Agassi's state of mind, saying, I got to the top. Now what?
It
Now what?
sucks. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you're like
Uh,
that's what.
nothing interests me anymore.
Right.
Right? And so whenever you get that, you just go, "Meow, meow," and then you have this void that you need to fill. So people try like drugs. Completely agree on the aspect that when you say, is dopamine controlling you or you're controlling dopamine? Because if you let dopamine
It
does
doesn't know.
whatever,
It just.
it
Yeah.
doesn't. Because like I say, external stimuli. You see somebody on TV, and so, hey, that sounds good, right? Let me try to. So you don't know really if that outcome or the result is what you really want or who you are inside. You are chasing it, but the moment you got it, right, or the moment you, so it's either it got way too far from you, and then you lose interest,
Right. Yeah.
right? So the scale on the dopamine benefit to the effort you put in, right? It starts to go negative. They say, no, I don't want it. I mean, it's
Right.
not worth it. People say, hey, it's not worth it, right? So if it runs away from you, you stop, right? It's not worth it, and then you lost again, or you chase it. The thing is, the dopamine doesn't stay still. The thing is, if you make progress towards it, you're getting closer to it, right? Then the dopamine release. It's not about, hey, it's there and I'm here, right? It's
Right.
about if you make
But it's
some
this journey.
progress.
It's a
Just
journey.
like, for
Right.
example, when you do your to-do list, you scratch
Mhm.
out the first one.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
feels good because you
Yeah.
say,
It does.
I'm closer, right? So it's more of a derivative than a direct correlation between where the dopamine is, and it is about how fast are you getting closer to it, right? And if you can get close to it, the closer you get to it, the more dopamine you get. You think about it, right? When you are too far away from it, you get like disinterest in that thing or whatever. And then when
Right.
you got it, right, dopamine just
It just
completely
goes
goes to
away. Yeah.
zero because
Right.
there's nothing to chase, there's nothing to make progress towards.
Right.
And
Yep.
so that's a state of mind that we as human beings have, and that's something that either allows us to use it for our own benefit and guide it towards the directions of where we want ourselves to be, or let other external stimuli kind of pull us in whatever direction it happens
Right.
to pull us. And so I think, from the question you're given, yeah, dopamine is going to drive you by default. And unless you can focus on something that is your core value, I guess is your destiny. Meaning, like, for example, you're a tennis player, right? You want to play more tennis. You don't want to play less tennis. I could foresee myself playing this until I physically can't play anymore, right? That's the
Yeah.
point is, when you found something, let's say you're a beaver, right? You're a beaver,
Mhm.
you're in the water every day, all day and every day, right? You don't get tired of it. That's called sustainability because it is who you like a donkey, right? Donkey out in the plain, jumping up and down, running through the
Carrying
grass,
stuff,
whatever,
running. Yeah. Yeah.
right? It doesn't want to stop, right? It doesn't want to be
Right.
in the shed, but it go because that's his manifestations of his characteristics, his DNA, his abilities, his traits. And so having the ability to express that is what he can do until he's not a donkey anymore, meaning he dies, right?
Right.
So for us, if you found something that it resonates with you as who you are, there is almost like a bottomless pit of levels or
It is
in
bottomless pit. It satisfies dopamine on both levels because like every day I get to make progress toward something, right? I don't know what that progress is, but like, eventually, like on this particular case with your magical learning,
you would never hit it. You would never hit the end, the finish line because it is
it
insatiable.
always
Because
moves
what
with it moves with you. Like it's always out there to still reach for because you're like, oh, what could I do next with learning something new every day? I don't know, but like I'll keep learning something new every day, and then once this project is over, it'll be like I don't know, I'll do some other project. And it's not tied to a specific desire end state, right? Like the desired
right.
end state and the desired current state are the same. And then all of a sudden, when you look back on it, it's cool to see, oh shit, we've done 365 of these, and oh shit, we've done 365 podcast recordings. But like that was never the goal.
But
Like
that wasn't what you're chasing though. Because
right, not at all. Like
when you're chasing knowledge or when you're chasing having the ability to be in the water, building dams, right? You build one dam, you build another dam, you play tennis and you play again. For me, I breathe and I breathe again. I breathe and I breathe again. I say, hey, I'm not gonna say, hey, I'm gonna breathe too. I'm gonna breathe,
I'm gonna bring this
100,000, how 100,000 breaths and I'll stop, right?
right,
It's never gonna get there. It's get to the point where I'm gonna keep breathing,
right.
right?
Or the beaver saying, I'm gonna build this dam that's 10 stories tall or something like that. He's just the beaver popping a beer on the sidelines as other people are going to work, and he's like, getting fat and out of shape and slowly just marching toward his death, and he's depressed, and he's like, I did, but look at what I did. That was such great work. Like, who gives a shit? Like, nobody cares. Like, once you get done with this project and once we move on to the next project, like, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to give a shit about what we've already accomplished. Like, I really won't. Because I mean, I will go, it's done. It's in the past. Like, if somebody wants to time
It's like I don't count how many breaths I took. You
right.
think
Yeah,
about it.
exactly.
You
It's
don't
done.
count
It's over.
like since I was born until now. Like I've like oh my, I took this number of gigantic number of breaths. Like I don't think about it. I say, well, I took a lot, and I don't even think about how much more that I have to take until the moment I don't take anymore. I say,
Right.
I wish I have like unlimited. Like I want to like breathe forever.
Right.
You think about it when you look at that perspective. Like you're talking about, hey, the ability to extend your life, right? Because for whatever reason we have the genes of survival, whatever that gene is, wants us to feel good when we are alive, right? Hey, it's feel good to be alive, and not, hey, I want to die tomorrow. I want to die, a year from now. Who has anyone has ever said, hey, beyond the sickness and all the pain they go through, but if they have all the faculties without the pain and the misery, right? No one in their right mind would say, I'm gonna live until I'm another 20 years and I'll die.
Right.
Right? No one thinks about it because that's not the manifestation of the genes. So it has
Right.
nothing to do with that. It's like we are not weird. It's just we have that genes of survival. When that gene of
Right.
survival it's in us, we don't want to die regardless of how, right? So that's the thing is we have certain genes, and those genes need to be, I guess, I don't know what you can call it, but it's manifesting itself. Like to
Right.
express that gene has to, when the gene is expressed, then you have feel good molecule that's released. If you don't, then that thing becomes a void. You're
Yeah.
used
Like
to
we
that.
need dopamine. Dopamine has
You
helped
used,
us to get to like we've talked about this a lot, right? Like about how humans are creators. Dopamine helps us to drive that creativity. It helps us to drive. We've talked about one of our superpowers is our imagination. Dopamine helps us to visualize the future and what it could be, right? And to work towards something in the future, right? I don't know. We're working toward a particular project right now, and That gives you a purpose, right? To work towards something. Like that's one of these dopamine like is incredibly important
Well,
to
I don't think it's
what we
I
do,
don't think it's
but
about a
it's
goal, right? Because the thing is,
not
people
about a
think
goal, right?
of a goal, it's about purpose, right? Because
It's about moving forward. It's about what moving forward.
well, not really. It's not
It
really
is.
moving forward because the thing is, yes, there is that sense of, hey, I want to do this, right? I'm a Mexican fisherman, right? I want to get to the point where I can fish, but now I don't.
Right.
Now I don't have the ability to go and just go fish for a little
It
bit
sucks.
and go. And so the ability for me to say, hey, where I'm at and where I need to be, there is some gap that I need to close. So that is a dopamine as well. But you think about it, if my nature it is to be that particular fisherman, once I got there, the dopamine will still be there. It won't go away because I enjoy going out, go fish a little bit, go sell trade it in for some other stuff, go having a siesta in the afternoon and go talk to my neighbors and chit chat about nonsense or whatever it is.
Right.
It gives me the dopamine hit because you think about it, what we're doing today, right? I don't know about you, but for me, Yomo here, there's no goal for me. There's no, I mean,
There is no goal.
you ask me, hey, I've written all this reflection, I would like to, kind of talk to you about it. And
Right.
I said, well, I would, I think that's great. But what I'm doing with you here today, there's no goal for me. There is no goal for me at all. I have no goal. It wasn't even crossed my mind. We start doing this, but like talking to you right now, it gives me the dopamine.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like this is
So
my
it's not
point.
like,
It's
hey,
like
I
the
got
goalpost always
there.
moves, right? Like,
Well, the thing is, you think about if you're in, let's say you're a beaver, right? You're in the water. You have dopamine because you're allowed to manifest yourself. You're a donkey. You're outside the shed.
right.
You're manifesting your DNA. It's going to give you dopamine. It's not about the chase.
Right.
Because the thing is, the chase is one thing, right? It's also giving dopamine, but the ability to be in a state where you want it to be, where you should be,
It's
then
sustainable.
it gives you dopamine even though you are already there.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think after this project is over, and let's just say we stop doing podcast recordings, do you think that you and I are going to talk to each other about what we want to do in a given day?
I mean, you and I have doing this for every single day for 2.5
Almost
years.
3. Yeah.
And then we have these holidays, right?
Yeah.
I miss talking shit to Chris.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that even builds up more dopamine for me. And then when I get to talk to you about it, I get even more excited. So the dopamine in the sense of, hey, you're chasing a goal. Yes, that also creates a dopamine, but I think that's more of a kind of like, hey, I can imagine the state where I'm in, where the dopamine is going to release because of that, right? And because it's either you are either beavering on purpose or you beavering because you think you're gonna have it, right? A lot of people
Right.
get to the go better, hey, because that's what I think having this state of mind would give me the dopamine. But a lot of people were wrong in terms of, hey, I achieved it, but it's not what I want.
Right.
But you think about it, if you really look into yourself and say, hey, this is who I am. I'm a beaver, right? And I get to the point where I can build my dams in the river and I can swim in it all day. I will get a dopamine all day long. So for
Right.
you, for example, Chris, like I challenge you because I know you who you are now. I challenge you to be in solitude for 1 month. Like, don't go talk to anyone. Just stay
No, I
inside the
wouldn't.
house.
I could, but like, I don't want to. I mean,
It's gonna be miserable. But the thing is that
we can run
the
uphill. We talked about this.
point I'm trying to make though
Why?
is that you have talked to how many people now?
And what?
In your entire life, you have talked to how many people?
I don't know,
Thousands, a
Yeah,
lot of people.
yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of people, but that's a point where I say, hey, I have already talked to a lot of people. I'm going to stop, right? I get to the point where talking to people doesn't give me the for you and me, right? Like for you, let's say you go and you say, hey, I'm a talker. You're a talker, right?
Right.
And you say, well, I'm going to stop. I get to the point where,
I'm good.
I have my
I won the Olympics of talking.
I have my field communicating with people and building this relationship. And for example, like for you, you just, hey, I still want to talk. I don't know where the limit is at, right? Because you
Right.
think about it, if I tell you, okay, you're 35 now, right? They say,
Right.
hey, you can talk until you're 40, and after 40, you don't talk to anyone. How does that make you feel?
Sounds awful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
But that's
mean,
so important because you are made to be a talker.
that's why Tom Brady's still playing football, because he's like, he loves the dopamine hit and he loves the goal, but he
But
also knows that once that's gone, he doesn't know what he's going to do. And he's
but
scared as hell to let it go.
yeah, but the thing is for you, like, for example, like every time you talk to somebody, you get excited, right?
Yeah,
Every
for
time
sure.
you talk to somebody, you get excited. So every single thing you do, right?
Here's the most important thing, though. This is where the values come back into play. And this is
The
like,
values is
we can't,
essentially who you are.
right. We can't,
It's
it's the underlying code as to why I like to talk to somebody else, right? Like, because I can give more than I take, because I can challenge other people, because I can do all these other things,
that's because whatever genes,
I can play,
the
like,
combination of it creates the values of challenge, learning,
right,
give more than you take. That combination of genes fits
right,
into these values. And when you're able to talk, that it fits those values. It basically say, hey, you're a donkey in the field, not a donkey in the shed.
right,
You're a
right.
beaver in the dam, not a beaver in the tundra, in the ice, and whatever, right? That's what I'm
Yep.
saying is when you're inside, when you're doing what you're supposed to do, meaning your body has a faculty. It needs to be utilized. If you don't utilize it, you're going to wither away.
But this is the most important point of all this stuff is, in my personal opinion, you could take away my ability to talk. That doesn't mean that my values go away. This is why values are so important to control the dopamine, is because it's abstract. It's an abstract end goal. It's an abstract day-to-day goal. There is no, what does challenge, what does endure mean? It could be anything. There's 500 million different interpretations of how you apply endure to any activity that you do, right? So it becomes, you can get a dopamine hit on almost everything that you do. And then also everything that you do is also sustainable, but also everything that you do can be taken away from you, but also you don't really care because you know you can replace it. Like this is where it becomes like this never-ending infinity loop of fun and enjoyability and sustainability, is because it's abstract. Like, that's the problem that everybody else has with dopamine, is they tie it to a tangible thing. Going to the moon is literally a tangible thing. Winning a 100-meter, freestyle in the Olympics is a tangible thing. Doing 365 books and writing a book about it is a tangible thing. But that's the thing, is like, we're not doing this project to do that and then it's over. Like, we're doing this because we want to learn every single day, and we'll do something different after that. Like, you can end a project but that doesn't end. You can take away my ability to read a book, or my eyesight to read a book, but I'll listen to a book. You can take away my ability to listen to a book, but I'll go, read in Braille. You can take away my fingertips, but I can find another way to manifest, my desire to want to learn something new every single day. Like, is the big point of all this stuff, is like, it's like with values, this whole entire thing is A, sustainable, and B, also kind of untouchable. You can take away everything from me, but you can't take away something abstract that doesn't exist. So it doesn't exist. It only exists if I say that it exists in my head. If I say that I'm learning something new, I'll get a dopamine hit, right? And that's that.
Right. I mean, the thing is, it's both abstract and it has to be the value that you resonate with. It can't just be an abstract, but something that it's
Right.
not for you. Like, for example, I can be a beaver, but I can be beavering, like, hey, enduring in the Sahara Desert. I mean, to me, that's just miserable. For me to
It
be,
is.
hey, I'm be a donkey, but I have this ability to run and be free, and then you lock me up in a cage, right? For me, I say I can endure. I can try to buck and kick and do whatever inside that shed, but it's still not going to be able
It's not
to give me
perfect.
the ability
It's
to
not
endure. That is who you are. Then the dopamine will come. Essentially, it's going to move yourself towards the state where you are most optimal of who
right.
you are, right? Whether you're a donkey, a beaver, a fox, an eagle, or whatever. If you're an eagle, you don't want to be on the ground. You want to be in the sky, in the air.
Right.
You're talking about fish. You don't want to be a fish out of water.
We
And
want to
so,
create.
and so that's the thing is, it's all about the ability for you to find the right direction, and that right direction will actually create this long lasting sustainable, I guess, pathway of dopamine, versus when you get to dopamine where it's a mirage, the goal that you want, when you get there, you say, well, it's not here.
Well, no shit, it was never there.
It's never there. You think
Right.
it's there because we have the ability to imagine things, right? Say, if I were to do, let's say, I'm going to make $1 million, right? I'm going to be happy, right? You don't really know what that's going to entail. You
Right.
think that, hey,
Yeah.
it's going to get you this and that and the other. Just like we asked before, hey, to define why, why do you want to buy a drill? Why do you want to put a hole in the wall? Why do you want to hang up pictures, right?
Right.
It's like, I think it's going to give me this, but the actual reason why you wanted that thing in the first place eluded you, right? A lot of people think, hey, when I become number one in tennis, right, I'll be happy. And they took that and they chased that, thinking that they're going to get what they want with the state of mind at the end. But when they get there, the state of mind is not there. It's gone
Right.
because it's just mirage.
Right.
So it's very important to see inside yourself is who you're supposed to be. Regardless of, I mean, I can't, like I said, in the way that I'm built, right? I can't say, okay, I want to be a basketball player. I can't play basketball.
But you can't be an NBA basketball player.
Well, that's the point. The thing is, the image in my head is when I become an NBA player, I can do the dunking among the professional. You're talking about these tall giants, can have access to the playing field and all that, right?
Right.
And so I can't wish for that. I can wish for that, but it's not going to come true. And even if I do, right? If I do, I won't be happy because that's not who I was built for. So
Right.
I'd be
Well,
really hard pressed to get to the point where I'm even average, even like the lowest to be make it into that league.
right.
And then when I do that, I say, well, that's not worth it because it's not really what I want because I thought it gave me something different because I don't have the capacity to be good in basketball. Therefore, it's going to be a struggle for me to play. And so the thought of having the fame, the money, the freedom, and whatever that image in your head, it's more abstract goal that if you want. And until you can finally figure out truly what that goal is,
Right.
whatever you're chasing, it's going to be a mirage. And when you chase a mirage, when you get there, it's going to be disappointed. And you say, well, I have
It's
no idea
beyond
what I'm doing
disappointing.
now.
It's soul crushing.
It's depressing.
A lot of people can't. I think that one of the achievements that people can probably most align with in life is either like graduating from high school or college or something like that. And I don't know if you remembered anything about your graduation day, but like I remember walking down the aisle to go pick up my diploma.
Man.
That was the most pointless activity. I'm like, this is what I worked 4 years for. Like, is to get a 4.5 years for, is to get a piece of paper handed me by some dude and say like, slap on the butt and be like, all right, have fun, make sure to donate to us like down the road. I'm like, what do you do with that? Like, it's just so stupid. But like, the thing is you miss the point. Like, like we've talked about this before in the past is like, don't miss the point. Like, I had a great time in college with like my friends and meeting new
Exactly,
people
and that's what
and
you
learning how to.
remember. You don't remember the classes or the bachelor diploma, degree, whatever it is. You
Right.
don't remember any of that. You remember the memories
The
that
experience. Right.
resonate
Yeah.
with you,
Right.
right?
Right.
The thing is, there are a lot of other memories too, but you completely erased those from your memory. You only kept the one that means something to you.
Right.
Whatever means something, that means that whatever you do, it resonates with you. Hey, I'm a a sorority, a fraternity guy, or whatever. I am a chess player. I'm into sports. You remember that because that's who you are. Because if you are
Right.
a sports guy, right? I remember this guy. I remember going to the games. I remember doing this. I remember because that's who you are, right? You remember the beavering activity. You don't remember the other stuff, other
Right.
like sloth or fox or whatever bear activity that happens to be like cross you don't remember it, you just threw it away. You don't
I
remember the thing that's who you are. Hey, I remember swimming into the river, building dams or whatever. That's
right.
what you remember.
I have a great example I wanted to share of a tennis tournament that I played in. It was in September of the year that Amelia had passed away, so 2020, and I was kind of coming out of the rubble and I was starting to understand a little bit more about who I was and what I wanted to be and how I wanted to express our shared values together and to live that life together and all that good stuff. And I won this tournament, right? I played great, won this tournament, struggled. I adapted in a lot of different matches and continued to evolve. I specifically remember the semifinals match. I played completely different than I've ever played in my entire life because this guy I was playing against, I immediately realized shit, if I try to play the way that I normally play, I'm screwed. So I advanced to the finals, and I played against this guy that had a really unique style of play. He killed everybody along the way because he had a really unique style of play that he played on clay courts, and it was tough. He hit a lot of spin, he hit a lot of junk shots and things like that, but it was like, it's like not the way that I normally play tennis. So I had to like adjust to this a lot. But here's what I learned most from this is I won the match, struggled, won in the third set. Everybody was like, cheering me on afterwards, and like I won the championship and everything. And I walked out of there, and I grabbed my little trophy, and we took some photos, and I was driving back to Indianapolis because the tournament was in Dayton, Ohio. And I remember feeling right after I won that, like two things simultaneously. One was, man, nobody cares. Like nobody fucking cares. And then two, I was like, one person that does care is Amelia, and I'm really glad that I was here. And you know what we did to celebrate? We listened to Sapiens, the book Sapiens, on the way back, and we finished it. And I was like, man, like that felt really, really good. But here's the third thing that I remember from that tournament is we had a really, really close third set match. And the last shot of the match, he framed a ball, and it flew up in the air, and it was like a totally miss hit. And it was like going really, really high, and it dropped right down in front of me on the baseline, and I called it out. It was really, really close. And there was line judges and everything in this tournament, and we called our own self lines and everything. Anyway, that's the other thing I remember is I was like, was that out? I still can't forget about that because integrity is one of my core values. And I was like, man, should I have just called that in? I mean, is this really what I cared about that much, of losing or winning, whatever? Like those are the three things that I care about. But to your point of it, like that's what I remember is my values. Right. I don't remember the outcome at all because I don't really care.
But that's the thing is those memories and the values. It could be like nonsensical to other people, but for you, it matters, and that matters. When it matters, it triggers the dopamine release for you.
Right.
So
exactly.
You have a feeling when you have that memory or when you have that experience.
Agreed.
Each of these dopamine is going to be tied to the core values or the DNA that makes you you.
Yep. Agreed. So we got to cut it off there because I have to go run for a train. So I apologize. But fun conversation as always. Question we can leave for you all is, are you guiding your dopamine? Is your dopamine guiding you? Something to think about. And we will see you all tomorrow
for part 2 of 2.
Sounds good.
See you.